Hi, and welcome to another F&D presentation. Today, we're bringing you substitute decision making to supported decision making. So welcome. I'm glad that you could join us today. My name is Sassafras Middleman, and I come to you as a parent trainer with the Family Network on Disabilities, and also as a parent of two children with special needs that went through the process here in the state of Florida, just like you are doing right now. I'd like to tell you a little bit about F&D. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we help families in the state of Florida. We're funded in part by the U.S. Department of Education and in part by the U.S. Department of Health. We provide support, training, information, resources to families, to educators, to providers, to anyone in the community who would like some information or assistance. And all of our services are absolutely free of charge. F&D was founded in 1985 by a group of parents who came together. They had children with disabilities, and they were looking for mutual support and for an opportunity to share information, especially really good information. So F&D is a grassroots organization, and it's for persons with disabilities and their families. And we are family-centered and family-driven. What's really, really cool about F&D is that I am not the only employee that is also a parent that has children with special needs. Every other parent trainer, our management team, our management team, all the way up to the board of directors, we all know and love somebody with disabilities, and we have all walked this path. So that's what we're bringing to the table when we come to help you, is that we have all been there. So just a little bit about what we do and don't do. So a very important clarification we always have to make is that we are not doctors or lawyers. Nothing we say can be interpreted as legal or medical advice. However, we don't interpret the law, and we do not provide medical advice of any kind. However, we do bring you resources, information, training, supports, and we use research-based information that either comes directly from the Florida Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education, the Office of Special Education Programs, or the Bureau for Exceptional Student Services in Florida. So we disseminate this information, and we make sure that parents are understanding the processes here in the state of Florida. So let's move forward. Let's go on to our topic. So on to supported decision-making versus substitute decision-making. So today we will learn what is substitute decision-making, what is supported decision-making, and how do individuals achieve supported decision-making. So, as defined by the Florida Department of Children and Families, substitute decision-making gives guardians or advocates the right to make personal decisions on one's behalf. So when we're talking about substitute decision making, who's driving the decision making? Well, in this instance, we're talking about family members or a court-appointed guardian. Now, we're always talking about somebody that has the best interest of the individual in mind, but it's not the individual. The people making these decisions are always a family member or the court-appointed guardian. So in substitute decision-making, they can make all kinds of decisions for the individual. And some of these examples are health, living arrangement, financial arrangements, employment arrangements, basically thinking of all of the different capacities that you have as an adult when you have a court-appointed guardian or you have a family member that has been appointed the guardian, then we're talking substitute decision making for all of those adult arenas of life. So, and supported decision making, this is where the people with disabilities themselves help to make their own choices about their own lives. So this is about where to live. This is like what kind of activities they're doing during the day. Maybe, you know, what type of adult day training program that they might attend. How they spend or make money, you know, when they get to see a doctor, if they're able to choose what medications that they take, or even which doctor that they have. All of these kinds of, again, you know, these just basic adult decisions that we take for granted as adults, that we do for ourselves. And frankly, we are also taking for granted while they're little, that as parents, that's just kind of a gimme, that we are always making that substitute decision making. We're making it as their proxy with their best interest in mind. But as they get older, we want to start shifting our thinking a little to that supported decision making. So what can this look like? Well, it's definitely person-centered. It provides support, and it gives the person that is impacted by the disability the choice and the voice in the decision-making process. So this means that it's centered around them and their needs and their wants. And so it's really important to keep this in mind. So it provides supports. And so this is very individualized, and an individual might need supports in certain arenas, but not in others. Before I was teaching little guys, I was teaching adults with disabilities, and we had individuals that it was literally just the whole range of functionality and of independence. And so we had several clients that I taught in a fairly sheltered adult day training program that was arts based and education based. But they, some of them would take Dial-A-Ride, which is our city's bus system, or they would, take the bus itself and actually learn the routes for all of that. But then, they would have a job coach who would, help them get work, help them with the training for work, and keep touch with them and make sure that they're happy in their employment and that everything's going well. And, and then they might have, again, somebody who is court appointed or is appointed through the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, or is the parent or a family member, but they come in and, help balance the checkbook and actually, make the payments for that kind of stuff. I've had, clients that were just basically doing everything but that. And it was really, really great to see, because, no matter how disabled an individual it is, we will always want to be in control of our own fate. And I realized that there's quite a big of spectrum of that, as well as far as how much control we give to people. I had, some parents kept their kids that had Down syndrome at home, and they lived with them, and they felt that, maybe they should be sheltered because of the intellectual abilities. And that's okay if you think that. But I had other students that had Down syndrome who literally, was taking the bus to go work at Publix and to go see their friends at the movies, and they were having a great time. So of course, all of this is very individualized. What is that person really capable of, making, as far as making decisions, as far as like their understanding of things, and it's our job to help facilitate that. So and what that looks like is, we want to hear their thoughts, their ideas, and their views. We want to encourage them to take the lead in conversations, telling us their likes, their dislikes, their strengths, their weaknesses, their goals, and their desires. And of course, we know that that leads to a better quality of life. Studies have shown that people who use self-determinism, they just obviously, when you're able to have a voice into how you create these goals and how you create your life, you're just going to get more feedback, from it, the more that you put in. So we all want that for our children, right? So one of the things that, it's going to fall upon us to do as parents is make sure that we're presenting information in ways that they can understand, and that we're teaching them from a really young age to also think about their strengths and their weaknesses and their likes and their dislikes. And again, when we're talking about, their strengths and their weaknesses, their goals and their desires, we can see some relatability with the IEPs and the stuff that we should be doing right now, right? We should, before an IEP meeting, we should be going to our students and asking them, what about your day do you like? What about your day do you not like? Is there anything that they're helping you with that is frustrating you? Or is there anything that somebody is helping you with that is making it click? And so we should be talking to them and finding out, about their school day and their school life and their preferences, and also, where they see themselves struggling and how they could possibly, adapt and modify, because sometimes we realize when we talk to the individual, they're already doing these adaptations and these modifications, and they know what works and what doesn't work. And so, we always want to talk to the individual, and certainly as they age out of the educational process, we absolutely want to be talking to them and asking them, what do you want your life to look like? And so that's our job, is to help get them there and to get them understanding how to make choices, early on, so that they're not like deer in a headlight, when the time comes. So these are some of the kinds of supports that can be offered: is financial advice, medical advice, employment advice, independent living advice, school-related advice, personal care advice. Now, obviously, given, everybody has different levels of functionality and has different needs in different areas, and that's fine. But we want to keep it to the advice, and the advice, of course, it has all of those different scenarios. So to just, pick one out in isolation. So say the school-related advice. So where I live, there are 5 different adult day training facility options. And so an example of doing the supported decision making would be to sit down and tell my daughter, hey, well, this program does art, and they do theater, and they do all this kind of cool stuff like this. I know you like art. And then, but this one is over here, and I've heard a couple of your friends are going to be going there, and they do outings. Or, I know that you really like that Lively summer program. Lively has a year-long program. Let's, look into what the options for that are. Would you be interested in? And so, and doing that, I'm giving her all of the choices, all of the options, and even kind of helping her think of how to make that, the critical thinking, how to make that decision, weighing your different options. So it's important that we're definitely giving them all of the information, and that we're allowing them to, again, just early on, that they're making choices and understand that they have a voice and that they have a say, because we don't want them to get to a certain age and, we have, taken care of their every need and anticipated everything and done everything for them, because we want that to start shifting. So, and that can be really hard with our population. I know it really was with me. But everyone has to grow, right? So how to choose who helps. The person with a disability chooses a person that helps with their decision. So this is supported decision making. So some roles that the supporter might play is to give advice, um, and definitely to give the information, in a non-biased way, just this is like, this, you could see this doctor, or you could see this doctor, or they're over here, whatever. Give all the options. You can give your opinions on the matter. You can even remind them of their preferences about certain things, but in the end, the person with the disability makes the final decision. So supported decision-making in schools. We're looking at self-determination, communication skills, and post-school outcomes. So in the school system, we're going to start having we have our children at age 14 join the IEP process. And we start talking to them about, what are your goals? What do you think you're good at? What are your strengths, your weaknesses, all that kind of stuff. And we want to be doing that. We want to be building those communication skills, and we want to be looking towards, what the post-school outcomes are. So, are they going to a secondary university? Which we have 20 programs in the state of Florida that offer supports for students who are profoundly disabled. Or are you going to go to an adult day training center? Are you going to, go volunteer? Do you want to get a job? Maybe, you need to go to a vocational program, all of that kind of stuff. So we give them the options, and in the end, they decide which one that they want to choose. So supported decision-making at home. So we want to give meaningful activities. We want to give them options for those. We want to discuss medical needs and then living arrangements as well. So basically, meaningful activities is a big buzzword when we're talking about adults and their plans. But a lot of the time you'll find that can be defined by the people around them. We need to be making sure that our individuals are doing what they're really wanting to be doing, within limitations, obviously, that their medical needs are being met, that they like their providers, that they like their medications, that they are communicating and how they want to live. This was a big issue with some of my students in the past. We had some students whose parents were very involved, and they were able to get them great roommate situations. And then we had other ones, whose parents were no longer around, unfortunately, or who had grown up with the state. And, they are in apartments where it's 2 to 3 people to an apartment, and maybe they've never met before the day they move in together, or possibly they have disabilities that they would find one another disagreeable. And so, with these kinds of decisions, we want to make sure that the person is happy. There's nothing worse than, hearing from one of my old students, it's like, oh, I'm trying to sleep and this person's screaming all night. And that's just what they do when they're on medicine for it, but they can't get out of the situation. A lease has been signed in their name. They're unhappy, nobody wants to live under these kinds of circumstances. So disabled or no, we need to make sure that, they're happy and that their needs are being taken care of and that their voice is being heard. So with all of that said, how can we help as a family? Start early. build these into the IEP. With the legislation that just passed, it's looking at very likely we will go from the age of 14 to 12 where we start including students in the IEP process. And that means them sitting directly at the table participating. But prior to that, it's not a bad idea to, again, what we were saying for adults in the supported decision making, the making of goals, the interests, the strengths, the weaknesses, all that stuff. We can be doing that with our younger guys too. And in fact, we should, maybe sit down and have a little, questionnaire checklist with your student before an IEP. Who do you like at school? What do you like? What do you like about it? When do you feel safe and happy? Are there any times that you don't? Is there anything that the teachers are doing special to help you that's working or not? Because this helps us write the IEP, especially the top part, which is the present level of educational performance. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about their skills, their strengths, their weaknesses, things that we can accommodate or modify for them. That is, we have the best resource for that ever, which is, of course, the student themselves. So have that built into the IEP, asking them, what is it? Is there anything that you're noticing that you're not getting that, you need extra help with? Because that should be on the IEP. Allowing kids to make choices. And this is a big thing because I had to take a step back personally and really teach myself this because it just gets easy, especially, my daughter was nonverbal for a while. So there wasn't even much of an opportunity. I mean, I tried, we used picture exchange communication cards. I did schedules. I tried to bring her in that way and give her choices, but it was really hard. So a lot of the time I was just doing those substitute decisions for her. And as parents, we're totally justified in doing that. And especially with special needs students, it just gets easier and it's just it just makes sense in a way. But you kind of have to go back and say, no, in fact, because of my child's special needs, I need to double down and actually make sure that this girl can speak so that she's not stuck living with the two roommates that she doesn't know and has behaviors and keep her up all night. And she's not doing this and she's not, she's doing what she wants to do. And so an example of how we can make choices, just get them used to having their voice heard and knowing that they can impact the environment around them by speaking. This is very, very important. Even if your child is nonverbal, to still communicate this idea. And so I would do things with my daughter where, for example, maybe, extracurricular activities. So we could say, on Saturday, we're going to do something fun. Would you rather go to the movies? And then maybe kind of, describe that, get in the habit of explaining to them so that they're actually thinking with all of the information and coming up with an idea. And so, we could say, we could go to the movies. You really love the popcorn there. It's going to be nice and cool on the inside, and it's August. It's really hot outside. There's this new movie that's out. We were not going to get to talk very much, but we can enjoy the movie together. Or we can go to the playground and we can swing on the swings next to each other and we can talk and hang out. And it's going to be really hot, but it has the swings and you really like the swings because they're soothing. And, so, making these decisions and giving these options rather to make these decisions and having all of these ideas behind, just learning how we go about making decisions. And so, and even doing it, like with foods and everything. So you have to eat a vegetable, right? So But what if you gave them the choice of the vegetable? In fact, that's a tip for picky eaters, and it always has been that if you give them a choice in the matter, or if you let them pick out the recipes, or if you bring them in and have them help cook, they're more likely to be less picky eaters. So, give them that choice. Okay, you have to eat a vegetable today, but do you want peas or do you want green beans? You get to pick. And so, just get them used to the idea that I am this person, I have a voice. People just don't tell me what to do all the time. I say what my goals are. I can say what's frustrating. I can say what I like or what I need help with, or ways that I think that you can help me. We want to be building that for both the IEPs and, of course, for this transition when they find themselves, 22 and aging out of the school system. So, setting goals, have you ever had anybody set a goal for you? And maybe or maybe not, you didn't even know the goal or understand what it was or what it entailed or how you might go about meeting said goal. What do you think the likelihood of you achieving that goal would be? So we're used to that in these IEPs. We set the goals, we say what the kids are going to do. But we need to be talking to them about, again, getting these snapshots into their school life and their mind. Is there anything you see your friends doing that you're not quite getting? And that could be in any domain, maybe it's like they're marveling over their social skills or their ability to not get in trouble by doing this, or maybe they're marveling that they can, count to 30 or always remember that purple is purple, whatever level or domain it's in, whether it's social or communications or education or whatnot. They should know the goals. They should be playing a part in setting the goals and how you're going to achieve the goals. And when you're including them like this, IEPs tend to write themselves because they will tell you what they want to learn. They'll tell you what they're sad that they don't know, or what they're embarrassed that they're not understanding socially or academically. And then participation in life discussions, include them in all of these things. This is why we do this. This is why we do that. We could do this or we could do that. And, like I said, it's really easy sometimes to gloss over and be like, well, they don't understand that, or they're struggling so much just to do this right now, And so you try to take those burdens off and you just make decisions, or you do for them and you accommodate them. But we're not always going to be here. So we want them to be in all kinds of different environments and to be able to speak up and make decisions and to think about things and make good decisions. And so starting as early as you can, have them making choices, teach them about your decision-making process, what goes into it, different factors, repercussions, all of that stuff. And how can youth get their voice back? Well, again, at age 14, we have students participate in the IEP meetings directly. And of course, that participation is as varied as the group is, and also, the parents at the table too. Some kids who are 14, 15, they just sit there and, they're tuned out. Some kids have been taught to really speak up and have their say. And so, they can say what they need, or mom can say what they need. So, tell them about the doctor's appointments. Ask them if they're happy with their doctor. Do you like your doctor? Do you like your nurse? Are you happy with this? Does this medication make you feel good? Does doing this, whatever it may be. discussing their post-school plans. Again, that's going to be part of that transitional IEP at age 14. We're going to start looking at their interests, their skills, where they see themselves going. But of course, you can be doing that more in-depthly with them at home so that they, have this idea about what's coming next and that they do get a say in it. And, asking them where they want to live. Do they want to live with you? Do they want to live with somebody else in a group home? Do they want to live in an apartment? And what is it that they want to do? What are their interests? What constitutes a meaningful activity to them? Because we can say that on these plans that we're giving meaningful activities, but if we're not talking to the individuals and finding out what a meaningful activity is to them, then it's questionable about how meaningful it really was then, right? So with all of this said, we know that a supported decision is still a supported decision. We know that you probably wouldn't be here with us right now if there was no concern about how much they could make these decisions in the future. But I will tell you this. Again, when I worked with the adults with disabilities, it did not matter their intellectual function. It did not matter their physical function. They just wanted to have a say. They wanted to be able to feel useful, like they were still learning or that they had something to give society. And by teaching them these things earlier in life, we are endowing them with the tools to be able to figure these things out for themselves later. So thank you for sticking with me this long. And I'm just going to share a little bit more about F&D before we leave. So F&D covers the entire state of Florida. We are the official parent-to-parent information and training center for Florida. We divided it up by regions. I work with Poppin, Parents Offering Parents Information and Networking, and we cover the Panhandle and down to Broward. The Parent Support Network, which is on the west side of the state. The Parent Education Network, which is over the east side of the state. And the Family STAR, which is an acronym for Support, Training, Resources, and Assistance and Resources. And they are the statewide family-to-family health information centers. So basically, they do the same thing that we do, but just with more in-depth health concerns as opposed to disabilities. And again, all of our services are absolutely 100% free of charge, including the Family STARS. They operate under a grant under the Federal Department of Health. And we have a F&D University if you are interested. This is a non-accredited system. It allows you to learn more about special education, and it's non-accredited, but it is, of course, 100% free. It is available to anyone who has the interest. And again, we are just brimming to the top with resources. We have webinars, we have one-pagers where we take like really complex topics and we break them up into these little tiny, very digestible ideas. So we have webinars, we can do support groups, we do individual parent trainings, we can do teacher trainings, group trainings. And to get a hold of us, we are available at www.fndusa.org. We are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel where we have posted some of our webinars. So thank you for joining us. And here again is our contact information if you prefer the regular old telephone. And thank you. And please sign up on the sign-in sheet and have a great weekend. Bye.